Bet 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the BetQL network.
I love it because it's like playing fantasy sports, except you're betting on the game. Which player is going to have a lot of success in the game?
15.
Absolutely tremendous, and a different way of thinking about handicapping and betting on a sporting event.
All the insight you need to bet smarter is at BetQL.com. And listen to You Better You Bet with Nick Costos and Ken Barkley, streaming weekdays from 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern on Odyssey.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of Investor Schooling or their guests and do not reflect the opinions of WPHT or Odyssey.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. This is Investor Schooling Live with your host, Larry Steinhaus, CEO of Investor Schooling.
Good.
All right, good morning and welcome to Investor Schooling Live. Investor Schooling Live is transmitting from the Investor Schooling Studios right here in the Investor Schooling headquarters. Hey, I'm Larry Steinhaus, and I am the CEO of Investor Schooling. I want to thank you for listening in and get ready to learn real estate investing, get ready to learn stock options trading, and so many other things about money that I bet you didn't know. Hey, you can call in anytime during the show with your questions at 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137. Hey, we'll take your calls. Don't worry about what we're talking about. We'll take your calls about anything that has to do with money, anything that has to do with real estate, anything that has to do with the stock market. We are here live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can leave comments there as well. Hey, if you're watching online, of course, please say hi. And at Investor Schooling, we teach real estate investing, stock options trading, how to save money and taxes, and how to be financially free. And we even give you the motivation to make money work for you instead of you working for money. Investor Schooling is located in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, right off the Newtown bypass, serving both the New Jersey and greater Philadelphia areas in a real brick-and-mortar building. Our students are located in several states with our exclusive web access, and you can see our classes and our seminars right from your home. Get ready to learn this business, the business of entrepreneurship, real estate investing, and stock options trading from those who do it every day. All right. Welcome to Investor Schooling Live. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. We are on at a different time today because there's some game or something. I don't even know what game it is. Who knows? And we also have a guest today. We have my favorite guest, actually, which is Dr. Deb Anderson. Say hello, Dr. Deb Anderson.
Hi, Dr. Deb Anderson. How are you?
No. Are you that nervous that you just said that, or are you just being funny?
I'm just being funny.
Because
just being funny.
Only I'm allowed to be funny. You're not allowed to be funny.
Oh yeah, I don't have that character that you have. So,
Yes.
But no.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, how you doing today?
And if you be funny one more time, I'm going to throw you out of the studio.
I come in here like all the time when he's writing his stories, so I think that's like not gonna happen. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
all
really.
good.
Right, so what Deb's talking about is, I do a show, for you guys who don't know, I do a show every single day. I do it live every day on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube at 7:30, and I write that show. I start writing that show the day before, and then I'm writing that show at 4 o'clock in the morning. But Deb comes in at 4:30, and she bugs me. She brings me a coffee, and then she figures I could talk to her because because I have nothing else to do.
He has nothing else to do, so then I like interrupt him for like 20 minutes or so just to see what's going on, and then I leave, and then go back to work. So.
Exactly. So Dr. Deb is one of the most brilliant people I know, and she's also a brilliant real estate investor too. And she came to us and she learned a lot of cool stuff, and she's doing a lot of her own things. What are you doing?
I am doing, actually, I got a lot of stuff going on, actually. So I do tax deeds, so I got a bunch of tax deed properties. I am rehabbing a quad and a duplex. Have the lot next door. I'm going to be building some units on there. I was looking at contract for deeds last night, so I'm going to be putting some offers in on contract for deeds, and the note investing. So I got a lot going on.
Yeah, so you came to us. You knew a little bit about tax liens, right?
Deeds.
Tax deeds,
Liens. Larry always confuses too. So tax liens and deeds. So I know a lot about liens and deeds, but I prefer deeds because I want the property.
Right, exactly.
I'm greedy. I want the property. So.
And then you came to us and you learned a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of stuff I didn't know.
Right. Right,
like how to do it the right way, like how to buy it the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
How to buy it the right way, how to save taxes, how to protect yourself. There was quite a few things. What's probably the most exciting thing or most interesting thing that you learned from us when you came to us as a student?
The trusts, because when I bought my tax deeds, I had 5 of them in one LLC, and I didn't know that was a bad thing, and nobody told me that was a bad thing.
Right.
So that was freaking me out actually when I started here.
In fact, what did they tell you? They tell you that everyone tells you should buy stuff in LLCs, right?
Yeah, my lawyer said to buy it in LLC.
Right.
Yeah,
because lawyers are not as bright as me.
You know what was
Being
interesting?
kind.
When I set up my Series LLC and I talked to my friend who's a lawyer, he's like, "Are you sure it's called a Series LLC? I never heard of that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And then I had to get like a specialty lawyer to set it up.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so that was a little scary because, I trust. Not that I don't trust him, but
Right.
I would have gone to him, and if I didn't know, I wouldn't have known that he didn't know. You know what I mean?
So it happens all the time where people go to lawyers. We actually had this conversation in class the other day where I actually did an entire presentation on trust the other day.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is the only way to own real estate. If you don't know how to own real estate in a trust, don't talk to your attorney. Come to investor schooling, because I'm going to tell you right now, your attorney is going to teach you how to do it the wrong way.
Yeah, but you can also do them in an IRA. So don't say you can't. You
No,
can
that's
do it in a
true,
trust.
absolutely,
So
right.
because
you could own property in an IRA, but I'm talking about just simple ownership. Not IRA. Not if you want to be in control of your property, instead of owning it in an LLC, you want to own it in a trust.
Yeah.
You have much more control, and you have it's so much easier, and there's less tax consequences. There's so many other advantages, and
It's
we were
just
talking about this the
safer.
other day.
Yeah.
And so I teach this all the time, and sure enough, what happens? One of my students just heard. All he heard was buy property in a trust.
Right.
So he goes to his attorney, and he says, "Oh, Larry said buy property in a trust." So the attorney drew up a trust and drew up the wrong kind of trust. He drew up a living trust instead of a property trust, or land trust, if some people call it. I actually call it a personal property trust, and the reason I do that is because I understand it better when I call it a personal property trust. But it's really called a land trust for the people out there listening. Anyway, get into all that. But he did it wrong, and when he did it wrong, I have to help him unwind it all, because he, instead of coming to me and saying, "Hey, my attorney said this," he went to his attorney. His attorney just heard one word, which was trust. Opened up some trust for him, put him in there, and it cost him about probably between $4,000 and $5,000, I should say, total. And it was a complete mess. So listen, I'm not knocking attorneys.
well, you are not going
Yes,
to attorneys.
I know. I'm live on the air. I don't. We might have one or two attorneys who might listen to this program, but so what?
Okay. Well,
At 10 o'clock in the morning, they don't even know who we are, right? And by the way, you can call in 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. If you are an attorney, I'd love to talk to you about this, because I will teach you a thing or two. I'm such a snob, aren't I?
you are. So the one other thing that I thought was really useful that I got here was how to do comps, because the comps that I learned how to do when I took my other training were completely wrong.
Oh, really?
And it caused me to overpay for some of the tax deed properties that I got, because if I knew how to comp them right, I wouldn't have gotten as high as I did. So that was also something that was really frustrating for me.
So what was the difference between what we taught you and what they taught you? Because I'm curious.
They tell you to go a mile out.
Oh, yeah, that's way too far.
That's way too far.
Yeah.
So I didn't know any better. So I would go a mile out. So that one, remember I was telling you about that? I have that one property that's out in Lancaster. So it was the nicest house in the development, but I went a mile out and over highways, and I didn't know, and I couldn't get as much for it as I wanted. So.
Yeah, I actually remember you sitting in my office, and we comped that property together.
Yeah.
And you came up with some wild number. I'm like, I don't even see this being anywhere near 100,000 near your number.
Yeah, I think I thought it was at like 250 or 275, and you're like, where are you getting these numbers? And I'm like, well, I did this, and they're like, no, that's totally wrong, and it was just very frustrating. So it took a while, but I mean now it's worth that. But
yeah,
I
luckily the last 3 years, real estate has gone up so much that you did the right thing accidentally.
Yeah, but it was just at the time it was just really frustrating that they taught me. So the place I went to, they really tell you how to get the tax deeds and liens, but they don't tell you how to do anything after that, and they don't tell you how to buy it right. So that's all stuff that I learned here.
That's awesome. Now you actually, and for those of you that don't know, what's really cool is you become a student liaison here. You help out with the school, and I'm so grateful for all you do. By the way, I really am. It's so awesome.
Thank you.
And so the students are so grateful too. You do the ladies' night too, which is kind of fun, right?
I do the ladies' night. So any ladies want to come out next Wednesday? We're going to Tre Fratelli at 7. So yeah, come on out.
Hey,
so,
are you allowed to invite people who aren't students?
if you want to come, I'm open to it. You got to pay your own way though.
No, yeah, right. Well, you got to pay your own way anyway.
Yeah, you got to pay your own way. But no, I think it'll be fun. I think because a lot of times women get overwhelmed with all the men, and they, I don't know. I don't think men do it on purpose, but they're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you're a woman. And I feel like that comes across here, like not really so much.
Do you think I do that?
I don't think you do that. I think you're just you. You're that compassionate.
Yeah.
guy that we
Yeah,
talked about earlier.
Seven-letter word that begins with an A and ends in an E. I got
Yeah,
it.
so
I don't think you could say that on the air.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
No, I think the women just kind of get lost and they feel like they can't speak up because they feel like they're going to be stupid if they speak up, so they don't always
Don't let
want
them
to.
do that.
No, I tell them that all the time.
But everybody feels that way because I want people to learn, and maybe my method of teaching people sometimes freaks people out because they have cognitive dissonance.
Well, you can be a little abrasive sometimes, so
Don't you dare call me abrasive.
So some people just don't know how to take your abrasiveness. So no, but I think it works out because then they're like, hey, what about this and what about this and what about that? So I think it works out well. And I think what's great too is that you are like up here, like you know so much, and then you forget the students who are coming in or who have even been here a while. They just don't. They're not at your level, so sometimes when you speak to them, they don't understand what you're saying. So lots of times I come in and I fill that gap, and I get that a lot from the students. They're like, can you explain this to me? And then they're like, oh, I get it. Oh, that makes so much more sense because I kind of fill that gap for them because you forget the little steps to get to whatever it is you're talking about.
So there you are. Go to investorschooling.com and I'll be way over your head.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that sometimes, oh, forget it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, if I start talking to you about instructional design, it'll be like way over your head. You know what I mean?
I talk to people on a my goal in life, and I mean this without trying to insult somebody, but I learned this as a kid. I learned that you need to talk to people on a 6th grade level.
I get that, but sometimes when you get so involved in something, then you forget that 6th grade level. You know what I mean?
Really? Okay. Well,
yes.
Remind me, because I try really hard to explain everything on a 6th grade level.
No, you're usually pretty good, but sometimes people don't get it at that 6th grade level.
They just don't get it, huh?
Yeah. So sometimes people just don't get it because they don't understand the foundation. So if they don't understand the foundation, then whatever you tell them afterwards is not going to matter, no matter what level it's at.
Gotcha.
That's what it is. It's that foundational piece. That's all.
So Mike online has a question. He says, "Can you put the house you live in a trust?" I'm going to let you answer that, Dad.
Yes, you can, because I just did it. So yes, I just put my house in a trust in the last month or two. So yeah, I would definitely do that.
So here's a great advantage of having houses or anything you own in a trust. You don't own it. So it's really interesting, and I use this as a great example. So Medicaid, so if you are on, let's say you're going into a nursing home, and if you owned a bunch of properties, the nursing home now takes your properties, and any proceeds from those properties go to the nursing home first, and your heirs get nothing. Now, if you don't own the property and it's in a trust, you don't own the property. So Medicaid says you don't have to sell those properties. You could actually go into a nursing home and have the government pay for it. Now, I don't know how you feel about the government paying for your nursing home, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. I want the government to pay for my nursing home. I really do. I mean, why not? We live in a society where Democrats get in anyway, and if they want to make these rules and laws, I have no problem using them. Using them.
Okay.
So if you have your properties in trust and you have your home in trust and you need to go into a nursing home, your kids still get your properties, which is the greatest thing, which is one of the greatest things that I like about putting properties in trust and how and why I do it. So yeah, Mike, you can't put your house you live in a trust. It's not as important, though. Just keep that in mind. Having the house that you live in a trust is not as important as it is to have your investment properties in a trust. But the house you live in a trust, now, and Mike, I don't know if you're married, not married, but if you're not married and you're going to get married and you want to, instead of a prenup, actually put your house in a trust, and then your wife can never, you could be married for 25 years. She wants a divorce. She doesn't get it. That's how it's set up. Now, right now, Linda's listening going, what? Is that why he did that?
I was going to say, I'm like, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it's better than a prenup because they can't even breach it. They can't go and they can't go to the court and say, well, I signed this under duress. It doesn't matter. It didn't happen. You just have to, it's in a trust. Now, I had someone call me the other day, and they were talking to me, it was a non-student. A lot of times people reach out to me, they just have questions. So, by the way, if you ever wanted to reach out to me, you can actually call the 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. You can call in right now if you have any questions, 855-939-1137. But somebody reached out to me, and they were having a problem. It was actually a woman who owned a property before she got married. She was married for 2 years. You ready for this? 2 years.
Yeah.
Her property value, while in that 2 years, went up $150,000.
Wow.
Her husband, who is a drug addict, is now getting divorced. He cheated on her. They're getting divorced, and he says, I want $75,000 of the difference the property's worth from the time I moved into it to now. And she thinks he's going to get it.
Well,
Lawyer she spoke to said she's going to get it. I said, you should have had that property in a trust. If you would have had the property in a trust, it wouldn't have mattered. In fact, I'm even advising her now. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a good advice, but it's an idea. I'm telling her to put it in a trust now and let him come after it.
how?
As long as she can move it, as long as there's no list pendants, as long as and they're pretty far in divorce, so it might actually already be there.
Yeah.
She might have trouble with it, but yeah, it's a shame because
Is it just her name on the deed?
it's just her name on the deed.
Oh, she could try it.
Yeah, I know exactly. But if she can't transfer it, she may not be able to transfer it. They may not be able to. The title company may not transfer it.
Wow. I think she should get a new lawyer.
Well, she should. I laughed. I said you should always talk to me before you talk to your lawyer.
Wow.
It is what it is.
That's crazy.
That's and in this case, she's the one who has to pay him. 2 years of marriage.
I don't know. So I wonder if I should say something to, because, all the houses that I've had, they've always just had my name on it. And this last house that we're in now, it has my husband's name on it. And I'm like, we don't need your, and they kept saying, we don't need your husband on we don't need your husband on the deed. Your salary's enough. And I'm like, let's just do it without it. He's like, no, I really want my name on the deed, because he always wanted his name on the deed, and now I shouldn't have done it. Oh, well.
Well, no, it's not that you shouldn't have done it. So let me tell you, I know your husband, but let me also tell you the thought behind that.
Yeah.
The thought behind it is, hey, look, we're married, and I feel like I want to be part of something with you. That's probably what was going through his head.
No, I get it.
And
He wanted part owners. Yeah, no, I get it.
And I agree with him. I think it would have been a good thing. Now, you didn't need him for the mortgage. It's not that you don't need him for the deed. You need him for the mortgage,
I
right?
didn't need him for the
Right.
mortgage. Yeah. So.
You have to understand. Dr. Deb. Her name is not Dr. Deb because she's not a doctor. Her name is Dr. Deb because she is a doctor. Now, she's a PhD, and she also has an incredible business that she does besides real estate. So, very soon, Dr. Deb's going to teach me how to get rich.
At some point I'm going to surpass you, Larry. You know that?
Surpass me. In income, you probably already did.
At some point I'm going to grow out of you. I don't know. So at some point it's going to be my radio show and you'll be my guest.
That's okay with me. I have no problem with that. Wait, as of next week, please. As of next week.
No. I need a little more time. I'm a little slammed right now. Give me a little more time.
All right. If you're listening, you can call in at 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137.
Dr. Bra.
Yeah.
Bill, you're crazy with that.
Yeah, so Bill says Dr. Bra.
Because it makes me crazy. Because it makes me crazy.
Yeah, but you want to explain what he even means by that. So Bill's online, and he says Dr. Bra. But by the way, Bill, why don't you call in? And I dare you to call in and call her that and see what she does. Because I'm even look at her face now. She's so upset about this.
No, I don't know where he gets it from, and I don't know
tell you where it's from.
What?
You haven't figured it out yet?
No.
So it's Deborah.
Oh.
So instead of calling you Dr. Deb, he calls you Dr. Bra.
Oh.
You didn't realize that?
No.
Oh, I thought you realized that a long time ago.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But
nobody calls me Deborah because I don't really like that name.
Well, I can understand it. Nobody calls me Lawrence because I don't really like that name either. Except, it's funny when I go out for dinner or when I go on a cruise, they call me Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, when I'm on a cruise, and the person on the boat, like whoever it is, the server or the purser or the whatever, and they call me Lawrence, they say it with an accent, a slight accent, and that just sounds so cool to me. So I like it when they call me Lawrence.
That's funny. So I back a long time ago, I used to date this guy, and he was Larry. You know what I mean? And then he hated his name so much, he switched it to Lawrence.
Really?
But I've known
That's so
him
funny.
as Larry. So every time I see him, I'm like, "Hey, Larry, how you doing? What's going on?" He's like, "It's Lawrence." I said, "Not to me, you're not. You're Larry, because I've known you 20 years ago." So it's just kind of funny.
So I'll tell you a funny story about that. So I was 19-ish, right? Okay. And I started to, I started to sell not real estate. I'm sorry, I started to sell life insurance.
Okay.
And I was expecting myself to be a professional, and you can imagine me as a professional, right? And I actually
no,
I know exactly.
I can't even imagine you in a suit.
In a suit, right? Exactly. I used to wear a suit all the time. I used to be in corporate sales. So at that time, I sat down and I said, all right, if I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be calling myself a professional, what name do I want, Lawrence or Larry? and I made a conscious decision to make it Larry at that time.
Okay.
And then that was it. So there was no going back to Lawrence.
So I only bring out the whole doctor when like somebody's being like really like nasty to me, because otherwise I'm just Deb or Debbie. But like when people start getting really nasty, I'm like, it's doctor, and you can call me Dr. Anderson. You know what I mean? So
I call you Dr. Anderson all the time.
I know, but like when people, it's because I remember there was this one project I was working on, and this guy was really being arrogant. And then I looked up his background. He had like a master's in Spanish literature. And I'm like,
master's in Spanish literature.
and he was giving me direction. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
That's funny.
You know, so he wrote an email about why my stuff sucked. And I wrote him a referenced email about why everything I did was correct. And I sent it to my boss and his boss. And his boss went to him and said, she's right, cut it out. You know, so it was
That's
just
great.
But I only do that when people are nasty to me.
You know, that's kind of happening here right now.
What?
There's a guy who used to be here all the time who's not here on the air anymore with me, and you kind of put him in his place too. But we're not going to go there anymore.
Okay.
We're going to skip that topic at the moment.
What? Well, skip that. I'm just me. I'm a little abrasive too, you know. So I'm not as abrasive as you are, but I'm not that far behind you either. So you know.
Yeah, I know you're too kind.
I'm a little too nice for. I'm learning that I used to really be nasty to people actually.
Really?
Yeah, I used to really be a bitch, and
Really?
yeah, and then you know what happened? I met myself in 20 years. Like I really did. I met this woman who was like the cat lady. She had like 3 cats. She was by herself. She was divorced. Nobody liked her. Everybody hated her. Nobody liked to go out to lunch with her. Like, and I met her, and I'm like, wow, this is me in 20 years if I don't cut it out, you know. And I'm grateful to her for meeting her, because I'm like, I need to. Like, I really met her and needed to cut her out.
Do you still talk to her?
No.
I was gonna say, because I was gonna say you probably shouldn't go to her. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate meeting you, because I don't want to become the end.
Yeah. Well. You know what it is? I met her and I'm just like, wow. I saw myself in her, like really a lot. It was just really weird. So, but I'm grateful to her for making me not be a bitch.
So this is interesting. You usually keep me on track of
I
talking
know,
about real estate and stock options. And what are you doing today? You're taking me off track.
I know.
It's pretty wild. But actually, it's a really good conversation. And you got to understand, we do this show every day. I do a radio. I do another show every day about finances. And so when we just have a casual conversation like this, I'm all for it. And I bet the guys in their car right now, they're like, oh, it's just so much better than the show that was just on. It's just telling me what to do. We're just having a good time. Oh, by the way, we got Bill on the phone. What's going on, Bill? He's going to call you Dr. Bra.
Dr. Bra.
And make sure you yell at him, but you can't use any expletives.
No, I know, I do. But Bill, please, like, stop. I hate that so much. Like, I hate that so much.
Bill, now what are you going to do, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm going to start calling her Dr. B.
Call me
Dr. B.
Dr.
No,
Deb
Dr.
B.
Deb.
Dr. B.
No, just call me Dr. Deb, Or call Dr. Debbie.
Why you got to be such
All
a pain,
right.
Bill?
Or Dr. A. I don't know, whatever. I just hate Dr. Bra. I hate that so much. I hate it so much. I didn't realize it was the whole Deborah thing.
Well,
but
now that I know, you never told me that, Deb. Out of respect for you, I will call you Dr. Deb, or I'll just call you Deb.
All right, thank you so
Bill
much.
is a student. And so it's funny because like we're having the little kumbaya thing going on here. So Bill, why don't you kumbaya and tell us a little bit about what you think of investor schooling?
It has changed my life.
Wow.
I started out as a student because my wife inherited some money, and I wanted to become a good steward of that money. I did not want to be the husband that takes the inheritance and just flicks it away. So I came to you to learn about real estate investing and stock options so that I could manage the money correctly. In the process, you introduced me to personal lending, private lending, and I have found something that I have become very passionate about.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool.
I currently have almost $750,000 out in private loans.
Check you out.
I have been reading and studying and listening to podcasts and just learning all I can about it, to the point where I am considering within the next year or so starting to do some capital raising so that I can start lending other people's money.
Very nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Bill. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So when you lend money, because I obviously know the answer because I taught you, but when you lend money, how do you make sure you get paid back?
I secure it with a mortgage on the property, as well as the verbiage in the documents, give me all of the control so that if there is any problems or it does go into defaults, I have remedies that will get me back either the property in order to be able to sell it or move it or whatever I want to with it. But I am not a lend-to-own kind of lender. But I take precautions to make sure that my documents are in order so that if anything happens, I have remedies at my fingertips.
Yeah, but Bill, it takes 4 years to foreclose on a property. At least that's what people think. It's not even true. But I always like to throw that out there because if people like to have money, so some people have they could have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million out there, and they're making 2% of their money, and they could lend it to somebody at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12%, depending on how the deal is, and they could get some consistent income from this. But they're always worried about the same thing. Well, I heard that this guy stayed in his house for 4 or 5 years before the bank foreclosed on him. So what's the difference between what you do and what a bank does?
I have, as verbiage in my contracts, a confession of judgment. And the confession of judgment means that as soon as they go into default, I can go to any representative of the court, a lawyer, somebody at the courthouse, and have them at that point the confession of judgment that the borrower signs gives me the right to either take deed in lieu of payments, or it forces them into having to pay me because the judgment is already in my favor.
Exactly. And where did you learn that?
I learned it from Dr. Deb's mentor at Investor Schooling.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But that's awesome, man. I'm so excited for you. And we need to see your face. I haven't seen you in class in a little while. We need to see your face.
I have one of my other businesses has been blowing up since the release of People's Lives and allowing people to travel more. I am constantly doing my transportation gig.
That's awesome,
and
man.
it's crazy.
That's great.
So, I thank you, man. Those are such kind words. I really appreciate it. What would you tell everybody online right now that's listening?
To go to Thursday's class. It's free. It's not a sales pitch, and you'll learn stuff that you had no idea about before, and it will change your life. And if you can't do that, go to Amazon, order Larry's books, Money Hacks, because it's an amazing book full of all kinds of information. It's like 22 classes in a book.
Well, thank you, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so my book, Money Hacks, the camera's over there. It's right there in front of you. There you go. I don't know if it's going to work, but there you go. All right. Yeah, it's Money Hacks. It's the name of the book. You go to Amazon.com, look up Money Hacks by Larry Steinhaus. I promise you that this book will be worth much more than $20. There was who was the woman that we went to?
It was a New Jersey RIA we went to. I was speaking at a New Jersey RIA, and the lady, we were talking about your book, and she stops the class and she's like, "I just want you to know that I paid $20 for this book, but it's worth like $20,000." Like, it was really pretty cool that she said that.
The information in the book is amazing.
Yeah,
and you're right. There's 22 chapters of stuff, and how much stuff in that book, Bill, did you not know before you came to Investor Schooling?
Before Investor Schooling, probably 21 chapters.
Yeah. That you didn't know, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. So I so appreciate you, man. You're so awesome. You need to stop in class more often. And, Dr. Deb wants to see you.
And plus, Bill gave me a ride to the airport, so I'll probably be calling you back up to get another ride to the airport soon.
Awesome, man. All right. Thanks,
That'll
Bill.
work.
Thanks, Bill. We appreciate you calling in. Awesome.
All right, guys.
And we're going to take a break right now. So, Daniel over at PhD, if you could run a couple of commercials, we're going to take a break.
You're clear.
I had no idea that was Dr. Broff or Deborah.
You didn't know what that meant?
I had no idea.
So, hold on 1 second, because by the way, we're still live on Facebook.
Right. I know. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, I just always tell you that because
No, I know.
Sometimes you don't know. Okay, there you go. So that's cool.
Yeah,
by the way, Daniel, I cannot hear the audio of the commercial.
Yeah, I turned it off.
Yeah, no, but wherever books are sold, and come see me at Investor Schooling. Thank you, man. All right, cool. This is Larry Steinitz from Investor Schooling. Have you learned how to make money with stock
How
options
many
trading
angry
yet?
wives
This is
called
something
today?
you want to learn. This is an amazing skill, and you
How
can learn
many
how to make
angry
money
wives
at Investor
called
Schooling
today after
this
your
Thursday night
discussion
by going to
about how to hide
investorschooling.com and signing up for one of our complimentary classes. You could also give us a call at 215-876-3002. Go to investorschooling.com or give us a call, 215-876-3002, and you will learn this Thursday stock options trading, and you will have fun.
No.
This is Larry Steinitz with Investor Schooling. Are you tired of the Biden economy? Do you want to learn how to thrive in the Biden economy? Because we're going to teach you that this Thursday night at Investor Schooling. So go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night and learn how to thrive in the Biden economy. You could also call us at 215-876-3002, 215-876-3002. Tell me you're tired of inflation. Investorschooling.com. We will see you Thursday. This is Larry Steinitz from Investor Schooling. You've been hearing our ads for 4 years now, and you still haven't attended a complimentary class. Go to Investor Schooling right now. Sign up for this Thursday night. If you have questions, you can call us at 215-876-3002, 215-876-3002. Come this Thursday, complimentary class, learn real estate, learn stock option investing, and learn everything you've ever wanted to know about money. 215-876-3002, investorschooling.com.
30 seconds.
Thanks, man. Sign us from Investor Schooling. Are you tired of being broke? If you're tired of being broke, go to investorschooling.com, sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday, and learn how not to be broke. That's right. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday. And if you have any questions, you can call us at 215-876-3002, 215-876-3002. Go to investorschooling.com, sign up for this Thursday, and learn how not to be broke. Investorschooling.com.
Free speech lives here. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Nice hat.
All right. Welcome back to Investor Schooling Live. All right, I'm here with Dr. Deb. We're having a little bit of fun. We're talking about the school. We're talking about Investor Schooling. If you haven't gone to investorschooling.com yet, you need to go there. So I'm listening to those commercials, Deb, and I've noticed something recently about myself.
What's that?
I'm a lot calmer. Did you notice that? Like in those commercials, I'm like, go to investorschooling.com, go to, like, I sound like Crazy Eddie. And now it sounds like I'm just talking. I'm just relaxed. So
It must have been that alcohol you had before you started the show today.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. Maybe that shot you
It
took.
was 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, you know.
No, I actually think because I talk every single day.
You're just getting better.
I don't even know if I can get my voice to go that hot anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem. Anyway, so there you go. Now I'm coughing because I said that. All right. So
honey? I got honey for you.
Shh, don't. My wife's listening.
She's the one who gave me the honey for you.
I know that. That's true. All right. By the way, anybody out there, call in 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137. Come on, we're a live program. You can talk about anything you want, anytime you want, about anything that has to do with money, anything that has to do with real estate, anything that has to do with anything. So you know what? I'm closing on 2 more properties this month. Are you? I'm selling a property, and I'm working, and I just went to contract on another property.
Are you buying that warehouse or something?
It's funny
because I know it's for your cars, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably the answer is probably. You know,
okay.
So the seller has a situation, and we're trying to work around. It's not a typical situation; it's a tax situation. Is what we're trying to work around, and we're trying to work around that. And so I give him different offers to try to make his tax situation better.
Okay.
And and I'm okay with any one of them. So it's funny because one of the things that I learned is if you start to listen to the people you're buying from, you could help them by buying their property certain ways.
Okay.
So most people think, it used to be, and you probably even thought this before you came to the school, even before tax liens. Excuse me. Most people think that if you're buying a property, let's say for $250,000, you have to go to closing with $250,000 plus closing costs.
Yeah.
You don't. You can go to closing with nothing. And the seller can actually benefit from that if you know how to do it. So sometimes, especially with the seller has a tax problem, and if they get $250,000, so first of all, right now it's September. So if by the time I close, let's say it's November, right?
Yeah.
If I give him the whole $250,000, he doesn't know anything on that property. He's depreciated it to the max. He has to pay all this. The numbers I'm using are just made up numbers, by the way.
Yeah.
But if I was to give him $250,000 in November, he's paying taxes at the highest tax bracket at the $250,000.
Yeah.
But if I split it in two, give him $125 this year and $125 next year, he pays $125 at a lower tax bracket this year and $125 at a lower tax bracket next year. That could save him $15,000, $20,000. So when you start to understand the taxes and you start to understand the tax implications of selling properties and how to help people through that, you become a genius, and it helps them and it helps you, because it's easier for me to come up with, in this scenario, in the made up scenario I made up, it's easier for me to come up with $125,000 this year in November, and then worry about coming up with $125,000 next year.
So one of the things I think that's great that you teach here is that you're always talking about solve the problem. Try to help somebody and solve the problem.
Sure.
That's like the number one thing. You're like, don't go to somebody's house just to buy their house. Go to solve their problem. And if it means not buying their house, then it means not buying their house. So go to solve the problem. So I think that's what you're talking about. It's like he's having some kind of tax issue. So then this way, what would be the best way to help him get through whatever he needs to get through? So you're solving a problem. So that's one of the things that you always talk about is solve the problem. Because I have it on my notes. It's like the first thing on there is like solve the problem. It's in big cap letters. It's like solve the problem and then deal with everything else after that.
So if you're going to solve the problem, what's the first thing you need to know?
What's the problem?
What's the problem? And most people don't understand this. They go, so if you go now to buy a house and you really don't know anything about how to buy a house, you go, wow, that house is worth $150,000. If I give you $100, I can make $50,000. So here's my $100,000 offer.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big mistake for many reasons. One, you sound like like a shyster, and you also, at the same time, you're probably not going to get the property. But if you go in and you find out this person has a problem and they need to solve that problem, whatever that problem may be. I mean, I went out to see a property the other day, and it was an old man who owned the property. He was 92 years old. His nephew was staying with him for the last 2 weeks, and the house was disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, the 92-year-old, he can't take care of himself anymore. Forget about taking care of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire house smelled like urine. It was, I already knew, and it was like,
Well, there's that one student who says, if it smells like pee, it's for me. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's
I thought
true.
that was great. I thought that was great.
Funny, right? So, so I'm going to the house. I mean, the house is a complete mess.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's all junk in the house.
Yeah.
So the nephew's like, I want to move my uncle to a nursing home, and we want to sell his house to pay for it. Blah blah blah, whatever. And I said, look, and I said, by the way, if I buy the house, you don't have to move any of this furniture. And the guy just lit up. He was so happy. He was like, oh, you mean I don't have to move anything? I don't have to get rid of anything? No. I said, just leave it all. I'll take care of all of it. And that made him so happy.
Yeah.
So this was his problem. His problem is, that, the uncle doesn't care. What does he care?
Yeah.
The money's not going to him. It's going to the kids or the nephews or whatever in this case is. Who cares? And they don't really care. They just want to take care of the uncle for the rest of his life, which could be a year or two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, when I saw this guy, there wasn't much left to him. The lights weren't on. You could tell. But they weren't enough that he could sign the piece of paper. That was it. So the problem here was that the kids want to move on. They want to get this stuff done, and I gave them an offer that can make that happen. We don't know if it's going to happen, but it is what it is. All right, real quick. So it looks like we got something up here. All right, so in Philly, so it looks like Jackie is saying, in Philly, a lot of properties have titles with issues. Most folks don't know how the city of Philadelphia works. Solve the problem. Be a resource. That's actually true. But here's my thought about Jackie. Here's my thought about Philadelphia. There are two places in the world to buy properties. One is Philadelphia, and one is everywhere else.
So I
choose everywhere else. I had to finish that first.
Okay. So I want to say something about that. So I know when I first started here, you kept saying that, Philly and everywhere else. I choose everywhere else. And the way I thought about it is I'm like, okay, more Philly for me. So I looked at it, and then I got 2 tax deed properties. So I have 2 in Philly. Right. So, and one is actually coming up September 30th. I have to rent it out again. But I have one that's in a gated community, and I get good rent for it.
Oh, sure.
And it's a nice little place. I just jumped up the rent, I think like $200 or $300, and I was really hoping they would be too much, and she'd move, and she didn't, which I was kind of frustrated on, but whatever. But so Philly is a pain. I'm not gonna say that it's not, but I think that if you can get it in like a nicer area, then I think you can have a little gold mine there. But I also have somebody who does all the paperwork so that it's all legal, because otherwise I just do not have the time or the patience to go through their stupid system, their Eclipse system that is completely confusing. So I paid somebody $1,000 to get all my Philly properties the way they need to be with all the licenses and stuff.
Just make sure you do the lead paint.
Everything,
test.
yeah. I have the
lead paint test.
The lead.
That's
I have the
one
results.
Everybody misses.
No, I have
They
that.
miss the lead paint test, and that's a big problem.
No, I have that one. No, but it was worth it to. I would have paid her $5,000 just so I wouldn't have to deal with the Philly.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't care.
Yeah, and you could afford that resource. So here's the thing. So I would buy properties in Philly if I found a really good deal, but I'm not actively looking for properties in Philly because I don't want the pain. I mean, I have a finite amount of money. You have a finite amount of money. I have a finite amount of resources of money that I can find. So I'd rather take those resources and money and put it anywhere else. But if somebody calls me up with a property in Philly and it's a good deal like that one, I'm going to figure it out. I mean, I know how to do it. I just don't like to do it. Same thing.
So I like the tax deed stuff in some of the places in Philly because I got that nice condo for like $80,000. You know what I mean?
awesome.
And I fixed it up for 20. You know what I mean?
What's it worth now? Like 200?
Well over 200.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome,
it's what I mean. I'm like, you know, it was and the only reason it was even 80 is because the guy was bidding against. It was gonna go for 50, and then I'm like, no, I want it, and he kept bidding against me. It was just one other guy. So, you know. But I mean, it's a nice little property. So.
All right, so hold on. We got Mark on the line. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, Larry. I heard your segment about putting properties in trust, and me and my wife are actually listening. We're listening right now. What would be the advantage to putting our existing, not a rental, or I'm sorry, not a real estate investment property, but our primary residence? Is there an advantage for my wife and I to put our house in a trust now, or no?
Yeah, it's minor, but yes. So it's easier to transfer it to your heirs. You can make the beneficiary your heirs. You could also, if you ever got in trouble, like let's say you got sued or bankruptcy or something like that, you don't own the property, so that's another reason why it's good. Owning it in an investment property in trust, or a separate entity. So just real quick, just to clarify one thing, also, you can own properties, but if you in LLCs, but I would own each property in a separate LLC. But that's very expensive and very time consuming. It's much easier to do it in a trust, and then make the beneficiary of the trust the LLC. But in your case, for your primary residence, putting it in a trust just saves you some hassle in the future. For maybe for estate problems, if you both die, it's easier to give it to the kids, that kind of thing. It's not as important as it is if it was a investment property.
All right, so thank you for that. One other. Okay, yeah, just one other question because I still have two properties remaining, and they are business rental properties. When you say putting, I have them in LLCs, but should they each individually be in their own trust or a single trust?
Okay, so now you have a little bit of a problem. So they're both in the same LLC, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, this is because you went to an attorney or lawyer, or you went to some stupid YouTube video that told you to do this, and you did it all wrong. Now, here's the problem.
No, I went to my attorney. You're right. My attorney told me this.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. I went to school for 8 years, and I know all about this. But Larry Steinhaus has been doing it for 41 years. Believe me, he knows more about this. All right. But here's the problem. So once you put it in an LLC, it's really hard to move it into a trust afterwards. Here's what I'm going to suggest: you just leave them in the LLC, but don't ever do it again. Because now, in order for you to move from an LLC to a trust, you now have to pay transfer tax. You have to buy title insurance again, and it just gets expensive to do it that way. So my suggestion is just leave what you have there, but don't do it that way again. Are you a student, Mark?
No, I'm not. I did buy your book. I didn't read it yet, but I just recently bought your book because I do listen to you on Saturdays.
Okay, great.
And you are very interesting. I will tell you that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. But why don't you come to class, man, and we'll talk to you more about this.
So I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna say one thing real quick is that, I mean, if you have the money and you're not in any, I would consider putting them. I would personally, for the protection and the peace of mind, I would pay the transfer tax and do it that way. Just because I had my properties in an LLC and then I transferred them into my IRA and I paid the money because it was it was peace of mind for me. So it was worth the money to do it. But I mean that's just me. You know what I mean? Like it was really peace of mind. So I knew somebody could take my stuff.
No, that's good advice. But clearly, moving forward, if I were to buy additional properties, I should put them in their own individual trust. I won't ever do the LLC route again.
And don't do a living trust that puts all your properties into one trust. That's the same thing as you owning it yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So definitely do it. Definitely do it right.
Yeah. And I promise when you start reading the book, it goes really quick. Actually, you'll zip right through the chapters before you realize.
And leave me a review, wherever you bought the book from. Please leave me a review. I totally appreciate you, man.
I will.
And come to class Thursday night. Go to investorschooling.com. Come for free. I'm sorry, I talked over you, but go to investorschooling.com and come for free, man.
All right. I'm gonna have to do it remotely. You live too far from me, and I work too much. So with my job, but I do like listening to you. That's for sure. And that's why I was really motivated to get your book.
Cool. You'll get 2 more hours of me if you come Thursday.
All right. Very good.
And you get Dr. Deb, too.
All right, Larry.
Thanks, Mark. We appreciate you. So Jackie has a question online. She wants to know if you pay inheritance tax if the property's in trust. And the question is, no. That's another reason why. But it's not. But first of all, inheritance tax. It's such a low number. But yeah, if it's in a trust and a beneficiary is already you, but you have to be careful that you moved it into a trust after 5 years. So there's a 5-year look back, and they still can go back for the inheritance tax if you moved it into a trust now. So do you know what I'm doing this afternoon?
What's that?
I'm going to do something political this afternoon.
Oh, I know, right? I think I'm going to be joining you later. So yeah. So
you guys know that I'm a big fan of Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz.
Now it's kind of interesting because Dr. Oz, like who's this Dr. Oz, right? So everybody knew about his television show, which by the way I've never watched, which I think is pretty funny. But everybody knew who he was. And you guys also know that I was a big thing. I had this whole big thing about anti-masks and anti-vaccine, but pro-vaccine choice.
I always laugh when I still see people wearing their masks in their car by themselves or out or walking by themselves. I don't understand it, but yeah, that's just me.
And then a couple of years ago, I actually see a thing by Dr. Oz. It was during the pandemic, and he's actually saying that we should be unmasking our children. It's not good for their mental health. And I'm like, who is this guy? Why? I mean, why is he saying this? This is like, you would have thought that Dr. Oz was a Democrat, especially because he has all these ties to Oprah and whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like shocked that he was saying that. In fact, the funny part about it was I was like so glad he was saying it because I'm like, wow, this is great. There's a Democrat saying it, but it turns out he's not a Democrat, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then there's also what's interesting too about Dr. Oz was I actually met him. Now it's interesting because we actually have Jim. I believe it's Jim Worthington on the line. Is it Jim? Is that you, Jim?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Larry?
All right, man. This is a pretty good introduction before you even called, huh?
Yeah, you led right into my talk, I guess.
I absolutely did. I figured you'd eventually call.
It's perfect timing. Timing's everything.
So, Jim,
you'd almost think it was planned.
So, yeah, exactly. So today we have a big rally over at your place. So why don't you tell us about that?
Well, we've got doors open at 5 p.m. at my Newtown Sports Training and Events Center right next to the NAC. We've got Dr. Oz going to speak tonight at a big, huge rally. We've got Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana flying up to stump for Oz. And we've got probably 2,000 plus people already signed up to come. So it's going to be huge.
That's huge. Awesome, man. I'm pretty excited about that. So, so this was what I was saying, Jim, before I put you on the phone, was I met Dr. Oz at an event that you had. You had about, I don't know, maybe it was like 75, 100 people when he was first running as the primary candidate. And, I went there, and honestly, so Jim Worthington, if you guys don't know, Jim Worthington is the owner of the Newtown Athletic Club. He's a very, very important figure, but also a really nice guy. So if you ever met Jim, you know that he's a really nice guy. He's definitely nicer than I am, right, Deb?
I've never met Jim in person.
Well, you're going to meet him tonight.
Yeah, I've never heard. Yeah, I know of you, but I've never met you.
Yeah,
so
he's a really nice guy, and I mean, he'll be friends with anybody. It's just the kind of guy he is.
Okay.
So out of respect for Jim, he invited me to see Dr. Oz at a event that he was holding, and sure enough, out of respect, I went. Just like, hey, Jim's a cool guy, and I'm sitting there, I'm standing there, and I asked Dr. Oz a question, and he answered the question in a way that I really appreciated the answer. And then I took Dr. Oz aside, which Jim was like, oh, he got all nervous. but I remember Jimmy. He's like, "Come on, Larry, you not now." And I'm like, "No, I'm talking to him."
That's funny.
and I asked him some questions, and every single one of the questions I asked him, he really impressed me. Now you can ask me what the questions were. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but I just knew the feeling that I left. He answered them all correctly in my head. As somebody who wants to, you could say, make America great again, which of course, because we're all MAGA Republicans, right? Yeah. Right, Jim? You still there?
I mean, I know I am, and I know he is. He wouldn't have been appointed to the President's Fitness Council with me if he wasn't. I mean, he's, and that's one of the things that bothered me in the primary, that people were trying to say that Dr. Oz was this, liberal rhino, all the crazy and something. No, I know this guy personally. I've known him for 6 years. I know his wife. And his wife's family is one of the most conservative families, the Asplunds in Pennsylvania. I mean, I said to his wife, Lisa, back early on, I said, Lisa, how do you tolerate these people that keep coming after him, accusing him of not being America first? He says, look, Jim, it doesn't bother me. I mean, my family wouldn't allow me to marry him if he wasn't a true conservative. I said, yeah,
funny.
You're right.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
she's a sweetheart, he's just a great guy. I've met her as well.
But it's going to be a great night. We've got some local candidates, Bernie Sauer, Frank Ferry, some other people that are running, and then we got Dom Giordano is going to be there. The doors open at 5. The program starts at 6. 6:30, the main program starts. And the good news, I think, John Kennedy will be on at about quarter after 7. Then Dr. Oz at 7:30, and by quarter of 8, we'll be wrapped up. So, I mean, it's not a long night, so people still go out and enjoy their Saturday. In fact, afterwards, we're all going to go to my pool bar next door, Escape, and hang out. So it'll be we'll continue the rally there. But it's going to be amazing. Typically a big rally for a senatorial candidate might be 300 people, maybe 400. The fact that we got 2,000 people in Bucks County in the Southeast coming out for him is just incredible. And he shows he's moving in the polls, by the way. It's tightening up. And I think this time next week he'll be ahead. That's the way it's trending.
I mean, I can't believe anybody could even consider voting for his opponent. I mean, that's just bizarre. I mean, the guy knows nothing, does nothing, and he's basically he's exactly what the Democrats say you shouldn't be. An elite that was raised by rich parents and didn't work till he was 50. I don't get that at all, but that's a whole other issue. But I'll definitely be there.
Well, it certainly is to me, this is the perfect matchup. I mean, it would have been if you had Bernie Sanders, who was a devout socialist, against Trump last time. That would have been a clear cut. Which way do you want America to go? Yeah. So they disguised, Joe Biden as a moderate, which we know now he's not. But I mean, that is the same matchup. You got John Fetterman, who's left of Bernie Sanders, right, versus a conservative, make America first guy. Let's get it done once and for all. If they're going to elect John Fetterman, it at least lets me know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, which is not stay around Pennsylvania, because I don't want to be a part of that mess. He is a disaster. He's a total. I like to refer to him as John Frauderman. He's just a fraud, and it's sad. It's sad that the people are snowed by a guy that had zero accomplishments in his life. And is really, like you said earlier, just lived off his family's money. And if he represents the hardworking middle class in the union, then I don't know what to tell you. He is so far from being a proponent of he's not even close to being other than his hoodie and his tattoos, I guess. And even that, I think, is just so fraudulent. But anyway.
Yeah, and by the way, I have to say one thing, because I've gotten in trouble for bringing up politics before on this show. So I must say this disclaimer. I have not received any money from Dr. Oz or from Jim Worthington for this conversation. This was just something that I felt strong about and wanted to have this conversation. So maybe I could stay on the air next week. I won't get yelled at for it, but we'll see. But either way, so is there still room tonight for people to come?
Yeah. You know, we were having people register just to get, just get an idea of the count and how we could lay out the facility. But right now, if you haven't registered, don't worry about it. Just show up. Doors open at 5. The preliminary program at 6. 6:30 is the main program. It's going to be hopping. If you can get here early, great. And if you can't, just it's going to be a little. You'll have to park a little further away from the building and walk up to it. But it's a beautiful day, so it's not bad. It's a good day for a walk anyway. But yeah, it's a 120 Pheasant Run, the Newtown Sports and Event Center, right next to the Newtown Athletic Club, and it's going to be rocking. We are, and Dr. Oz being a guy that was, in the TV business and production business, the way they've got this event set up is going to be crazy. It's going to be like a little mini Trump rally, really.
Really?
And I say little mini. The funny thing is 6 years ago about this time is when I hosted President or candidate Trump, and we actually are going to get the same amount of people for Oz's event than we did for the president's or the candidates thing 6 years ago. So it's going to be exciting. I appreciate you letting me on, Larry. Thank you.
Oh, I so appreciate you, Jim. Everything you do, not only everything you do for politics, but everything you do for this community. It's just you're just. I'm telling you, if you guys don't know Jim, you need to know Jim. He's a nicer guy than me, Deb. So
I look forward. Yeah, I look forward to meeting you later. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you might be really busy, but I'd like to introduce Deb to you later on if you just get a chance. But
no. Hey, I'm never too busy to say hello to people. I appreciate
That'd be
that.
great. Yeah, that would be great.
Don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed. I'm a lot shorter than Larry.
That's really funny.
I thought you were taller than when I. People always say that. I thought you'd be taller.
and of course, congratulations! I heard you just got engaged.
Yeah, Monday I got engaged. Big week. I was with President Trump up in Wilkes-Barre. I got to spend some time with him on Saturday night before his rally.
Oh, wow.
Monday I got engaged, and I've got to Kim, my sweetheart Kim.
Congratulations, that's
incredible.
Great.
And then tonight I got Dr. Oz.
Good for you. That's
what
great.
a week! What a week! A week. Yeah, well, thank you.
I don't know. I want to be just like you when I grow up, Jim.
You got to close up your show. Thanks, Larry. You're a good man. You're very kind. Thank you, sir. Take care.
We'll see you later, Jim. Thanks so much. All right, so everybody, tonight I'm going to be there. Dom Giordano is going to be there too, which is kind of cool. And actually, Dom Giordano, we know each other, but we've actually never met face to face, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So I'll get a chance to do that as well. Dr. Oz, I always give him a big hug every time I see him. I'm telling you, this guy. I'm telling you right now, I mean, I don't know what you think or don't think of Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is like the nicest guy ever. I just love this guy. And it's funny because I feel the same way about Doug Mastriano, who you've met as well. And by the way, and Jim also met. I met to talk to about that too. And Jim actually put a post the other day that he sat with Mastriano for a little while and had just a great time with the guy.
Yeah, he was really nice. When I met him, he was really very not what I expected for a politician.
Right.
And he was just really a nice guy, and his wife was really nice. Just genuine, very genuine. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and we had Mastriano at one of our events, and that was kind of cool too. Yeah. All right, so I know we went off topic, but that's kind of cool. But if you guys want to, as you know, you can always go to investorschooling.com. And by the way, you can go to investorschooling.com if you're a Democrat too. I don't care. I mean, it's okay. We teach Democrat as well as Republicans, no big deal. But whatever your political view is, that's fine. The only thing I always ask is that you express your political view by voting. Now, it's kind of odd because, we have this whole voter integrity subject that's come up. And, whatever your beliefs are, it doesn't matter. Look, if you believe that, and I always say, if you believe that there was voter fraud, then vote anyway. Because if that may be their ploy. Their ploy is to make you believe there's voter fraud. If there was voter fraud, maybe there won't be this time. So vote anyway. Yeah. So, I actually had said at one point, I'm just never voting again because I'm sick of it. And then I realized that was completely what they want us to do. Now, I don't care what side you're on. That's completely what the other side wants you to do is not vote. So you make sure you vote, make sure you endorse your candidate and talk to your candidate and feel good. And most importantly, make sure you go to investorschooling.com so you can learn how to not pay as much taxes from the government. Yeah. So I don't care if they forgive student loans for $10,000. It doesn't matter to me. All right, go to investorschooling.com. I think we got 2 seconds. So real quick, I want to say thank you to Omri, who is our in-house producer, and, of course, Daniel Valdez over at PhD. Thank you, guys.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling. All opinions or statements.
You're clear.
Thanks.
Solely those of investors.
Yep, good show.